The ship floated in the darkness of space like a dead thing. Its hull was scarred with burn marks and holes from weapons fire. The name on the side was barely readable: Eternal Hope. It had been a colony ship once, carrying 5,000 people to a new world. Now it carried only one. Quan moved through the dark corridors with practiced silence. He knew every corner of this ship. He had lived here for 20 years, ever since he was 14 years old. The ship was his prison and his home. It was the only thing keeping him alive in the cold void of space. He carried a small flashlight that he had repaired himself. The ship's main power had died years ago. Only the emergency system still worked, barely giving him enough oxygen and heat to survive. He had learned to fix things, to make old parts work again. He had no choice. There was no one else to help him. The recycling system hummed quietly as he passed it. That machine was his lifeline. It turned waste back into water and nutrients. The food it made tasted like plastic, but it kept him alive. Quan had not eaten real food in so long that he could barely remember the taste of his mother's cooking. He reached the observation deck and stopped. Through the cracked window, he could see the stars. They looked cold and distant. Somewhere out there was Earth, or what was left of it. The Vrexians had destroyed it 20 years ago. They had turned the entire planet into glass and ash. Billions of people had died in a single day. Quan still remembered that day. He had been on this ship with his family. His father, Day, had been a ship engineer. His mother, Yuna, had been a doctor. His sister, Hana, had been only 6 years old. They were going to start a new life on a colony world. They never made it. The Vrexian warships had appeared without warning. They demanded that the ship surrender. The captain had tried to talk to them, tried to explain that they were just civilians. The Vrexians did not care. They boarded the ship and began killing everyone. Quan's father had hidden him in a maintenance shaft. "Stay here," Day had whispered. "Do not make a sound, no matter what you hear." Those were the last words his father ever said to him. Quan had stayed in that shaft for 3 days. He heard the screams. He heard the weapons firing. He heard his sister calling for their mother. He heard it all, and he did nothing. He was too afraid. He was just a boy. When the Vrexians finally left, Quan crawled out. The ship was full of bodies. He found his family in the medical bay. His mother had tried to protect Hana. It had not been enough. Quan buried them in the ship's cargo hold, wrapped in sheets. He could not say the words. He just cried until he had no tears left. For 20 years, he had survived alone. He talked to himself to remember how to speak. He exercised to keep his body strong. He read every book in the ship's database to keep his mind sharp. But mostly, he remembered. He remembered every face of the people who died. He remembered their names. He remembered the Vrexians who killed them. A soft beep came from his wrist device. It was time to check the ship's AI core. Quan had managed to get part of it working again. He had given it his mother's name, Yuna. It was not really her, but hearing the voice helped with the loneliness. "Good morning, Quan," the AI said when he activated it. The voice was warm and gentle, just like his mother's had been. "Good morning, Yuna," Quan replied. It was not really morning. In space, there was no day or night, but keeping a schedule helped him stay sane. "Ship systems are stable," Yuna reported. "Oxygen at 60% efficiency, water recycling at 70%, no external contacts detected." No external contacts. That meant no ships nearby. Quan was still alone. He had been alone for 20 years. The galaxy thought humans were extinct. The Vrexians had made sure of that. They had hunted down every colony ship, every settlement, every last human they could find. They called it pest control. Quan walked to his small living area. It was just a corner of the cargo bay with a mattress and some salvaged furniture. On the wall, he had hung pictures. They were printed from the ship's database. Pictures of Earth, green forests, blue oceans, cities full of people, a world that no longer existed. Next to the pictures was something else, a list of names. Quan had written down every Vrexian ship that had participated in Earth's destruction. He had found the information in the ship's communication logs, 23 warships. He had memorized every ship name, every commander, every unit designation. He touched the list gently. "I have not forgotten," he whispered. "I will never forget." There was a locker in the corner. Quan opened it and looked inside. He had been collecting things for years, weapons that the Vrexians had dropped, tools he had modified, supplies he had prepared. He did not know why he was preparing. He had no plan. He had no hope of revenge. He was just one man against an empire, but he prepared anyway, because it was better than giving up. Because his family deserved more than to be forgotten. Because somewhere deep inside, Quan still burned with anger. He closed the locker and sat on his mattress. From a small box, he pulled out an old data chip. It contained the last transmission from Earth. Quan had listened to it 1,000 times. He knew every word. But he played it again anyway. His father's voice came through, crackling with static. "This is Engineer Dae Kim, broadcasting from Seoul. The Vrexian fleet is in orbit. They are firing on the cities. We have no defenses. We are asking anyone who can hear this. Please help us. Please remember us. Tell the galaxy what happened here. Do not let humanity be forgotten." The transmission ended with the sound of weapons fire. Then silence. Quan sat in the darkness, holding the data chip. Tears ran down his face, but his jaw was set hard. "They will remember," he said quietly. "I promise you, Father. They will remember what they did, and they will pay for it." He did not know how. He did not know when. But Quan made a promise to the dead that night. The Vrexians thought humans were gone. They thought they had won. They were wrong. In the darkness of a dead ship floating in the void, the last human waited, and he would not wait forever. The alarm woke Quan from a dreamless sleep. His eyes snapped open and his hand reached for the knife under his pillow. Someone was approaching the ship. He rolled off the mattress and ran to the monitoring station. The old sensors still worked enough to detect nearby ships. On the screen, he saw it. A Vrexian salvage vessel was moving toward the Eternal Hope. Quan's heart began to pound. In 20 years, no one had come. The ship had drifted in empty space, ignored and forgotten. Now, finally, someone was here. And they were Vrexians. Quan zoomed in on the vessel. He read the identification codes and his blood turned cold. The markings were from the Third Fleet, the same fleet that had destroyed Earth, the same fleet that had killed everyone on this ship. His hands shook as he brought up more information. 7 Vrexians on board, standard salvage crew. They were coming to strip the Eternal Hope for parts and scrap metal. To them, this was just another dead ship. They had no idea anyone was still alive inside. Quan forced himself to breathe slowly. He had dreamed of this moment for years, dreamed of facing the Vrexians who had taken everything from him. But he had always imagined dying in the attempt. Now that they were really here, he felt something different. Not fear, not even rage. He felt calm. "Yuna," he said quietly, "they are coming." "I detect the vessel," the AI responded. "What are your orders?" Quan smiled grimly. "We are going to give them a welcome they will never forget." He moved quickly through the ship. 20 years of preparation were about to pay off. He had mapped every corridor, every shaft, every system. He had repaired things that the Vrexians would think were broken. He had set up fail-safes and traps. The Eternal Hope was not just his home, it was his weapon. The Vrexian shuttle docked with a metallic clang. Quan watched on the security cameras as the airlock opened. 7 figures stepped through, wearing armored suits. They were tall, covered in thick reptilian scales. Their eyes were cold and yellow. Each one carried weapons and scanning equipment. The leader was a large male with scars on his face. Quan read his name tag through the camera. Commander Threx. The others followed him into the ship, talking and laughing in their harsh language. Quan had learned their language years ago from the ship's database. He understood every word they said. "Another human wreck," one of them said. "These ships are always the same. Cheap materials, weak design." "The humans were a weak species," another replied. "It is good that they are gone. The galaxy is better without them." Commander Threx laughed. "They thought they could reason with us. They sent us messages begging for peace, as if we would share the galaxy with primitives." The other Vrexians joined in the laughter. They walked through the corridors, ripping panels off the walls, scanning for valuable materials. They stepped over the places where people had died. They treated the ship like garbage. Quan followed them on the cameras, his jaw tight, his hands curled into fists. These were not the ones who had killed his family, but they wore the same uniform. They spoke with the same arrogance. They were part of the same empire that had committed genocide. One of the Vrexians, a younger female named Silex, stopped in the cargo bay. She scanned the area and frowned. "Commander," she said, "I am detecting signs of recent activity. Food containers, a sleeping area. Someone has been living here." Threx walked over and looked at what she had found. He picked up one of Quan's water bottles and examined it. Then he laughed and threw it aside. "Impossible," he said. "The ship has been dead for 20 years. Maybe some animals got on board. Space rats. Nothing to worry about." "But, sir, the patterns suggest—" "I said it is nothing," Threx interrupted. "Continue the salvage." The Vrexians spread out through the ship. Quan waited until they were separated. Then he made his first move. He sealed the bulkhead doors, trapping the Vrexians in different sections. The doors slammed shut with a heavy sound that echoed through the ship. The Vrexians stopped laughing. "What was that?" one of them said. "The doors just locked," another replied. "Check the controls." Threx tried to open the nearest door. It would not move. He hit it with his fist, leaving a dent. "Malfunction," he said. "These old ships fall apart. Use your tools to cut through." But before they could start, Quan spoke. He used the ship's intercom system. His voice came from every speaker, filling the corridors. "You are wrong about one thing," Quan said. His voice was quiet but clear. "Humans are not extinct." The Vrexians froze. They looked around, trying to find where the voice was coming from. "Who is that?" Threx demanded. "Show yourself." "You came to my home," Quan continued. "You laughed about my people. You celebrated our death. Did you think there would be no price to pay?" One of the Vrexians raised his weapon, pointing it at the shadows. "It is just one survivor," he said. "Probably half crazy. We will find it and kill it." Quan almost laughed. They still did not understand. They thought he was prey. They thought he was weak. They were so used to being the hunters that they could not imagine being hunted. "You were right about humans," Quan said. "We are emotional. We love deeply. We grieve deeply. And we remember every name, every face, every crime." He paused, looking at the Vrexians on his screens. They were trying to stay calm, but he could see the uncertainty in their movements. "I have waited 20 years for this moment," Quan said. "I have learned everything about your species, your strengths, your weaknesses. I have prepared this ship for you, and now you are trapped inside with me." "You are one human," Threx said, his voice angry. "We are 7 trained soldiers. You cannot win." "I do not need to win," Quan replied. "I just need you to suffer." He cut the intercom. The Vrexians stood in silence for a moment. Then Threx started giving orders. "Find this human," he said. "Kill it on sight. Show no mercy." The Vrexians drew their weapons and began searching. They moved in teams, checking every corner. They were confident, trained, and well-armed. Quan watched them from his hiding place. He could see everything they did. They could not see him. He thought about his father's last words. He thought about his sister's screams. He thought about 20 years of loneliness and pain. Then he reached for the controls he had prepared. The hunt was about to begin, but this time the humans would not be the prey. "Come find me," Quan whispered. "Let me show you what happens when you underestimate the dead." The first Vrexian died in the cargo bay. His name was Corvix, and he thought he was hunting a frightened animal. He was wrong. Quan watched from a vent in the ceiling as Corvix moved through the darkness. The Vrexian held his weapon ready, scanning every corner. He was trained and careful. But Quan knew this ship better than he knew his own heartbeat. Corvix stopped near the large cargo door. Quan had left a trail there on purpose, some fresh footprints in the dust. The Vrexian saw them and smiled. He thought he had found his prey. Quan pressed a button on his remote control. The cargo bay door opened. Not the inner door, the outer door, the one that led directly to space. The air rushed out with a sound like thunder. Corvix tried to grab onto something, but the force was too strong. He flew toward the open door, screaming. His claws scratched against the metal floor, leaving marks. Then he was gone, sucked into the void. Quan closed the door. The silence returned. 1 down, 6 to go. The other Vrexians heard Corvix's scream over their communication devices. Then nothing. Just static. "Corvix, report," Commander Threx said. No answer. Quan listened to their panic through the ship's systems. He had hacked into their communication network. He could hear everything they said. "Something happened to Corvix," one of them said. "His life signs are gone." "Impossible," Threx replied. "He was a trained soldier. One human could not kill him." "Then what happened to him?" Silex asked. She sounded afraid now. "Good." "We stay together," Threx ordered. "Everyone return to the main corridor. We move as a group." But Quan was ready for that too. As the Vrexians moved through the ship, he watched their patterns. He waited until 2 of them were alone in a narrow hallway. Their names were Drax and Venick. Quan had spent years modifying the ship's gravity systems. Most of them did not work anymore, but some still did. He activated the gravity generator in that hallway and reversed it. Drax and Venick suddenly floated into the air. They tried to grab the walls, but there was nothing to hold. Their weapons drifted away from them. They spun helplessly in the zero gravity. "What is happening?" Drax shouted. Quan stepped out from a side corridor. He wore a suit with magnetic boots. He walked on the wall while the Vrexians floated. In his hand was a metal pipe he had sharpened to a point. The Vrexians saw him and tried to reach for their weapons. Too slow. Quan pushed off the wall and flew toward Drax. The sharpened pipe went through the Vrexian's throat. Blood floated in droplets around them. Venick screamed and tried to swim through the air toward the exit. Quan grabbed him and pulled him close. He looked into the Vrexian's yellow eyes. "Do you remember Earth?" Quan asked quietly. "Do you remember the cities you burned, the children you killed?" "Please," Venick begged. "I was just following orders." "So was I," Quan said. "My father ordered me to survive and to remember." He broke Venick's neck and let the body float away. Then he turned off the gravity and left the hallway. 2 more down. The remaining Vrexians were terrified now. Quan could hear it in their voices. "He killed Drax and Venick," one of them said. "How is this possible? He is just one human." "Humans are weak," another insisted. "Our intelligence reports said they were not warriors." "Then why are we the ones dying?" Silex asked. Commander Threx was silent. He was starting to understand. This was not a soldier they were facing. This was something worse. This was someone who had nothing left to lose. "Get to the shuttle," Threx ordered. "We are leaving this ship." The 4 remaining Vrexians ran toward the docking bay. They moved fast, weapons ready. They thought if they could just reach their shuttle, they would be safe. But when they arrived at the docking bay, they stopped. Their shuttle was gone. Quan had used the ship's systems to detach it and send it drifting into space. Through the window, they could see it floating away, getting smaller and smaller. "No," one of them whispered. "No, no, no." "He trapped us," Silex said. "We cannot leave." Threx hit the wall with his fist. His armor cracked the metal. "Then we kill him," he said. "We search every room. We burn every corridor. We do not stop until he is dead." Quan's voice came through the speakers again. "You can try," he said. "But let me tell you something about humans. We are very good at one thing. We adapt. We learn. We survive. You thought you killed us all. You were wrong." "You are alone!" Threx shouted at the ceiling. "Your species is extinct. You have no backup, no support, no hope." "Neither do you," Quan replied. He activated another trap. The lights went out completely. The ship became dark except for the emergency lights that barely glowed. The Vrexians turned on their helmet lights, but that just made them easier to see. Quan moved through the maintenance shafts. He had spent 20 years crawling through these passages. He could navigate them in complete darkness. The Vrexians were big and armored. They could not fit in the small spaces. They had to stay in the main corridors. He found the next Vrexian alone, separated from the group. His name was Throck. He was trying to find a way to contact other Vrexian ships. His back was to the shaft opening. Quan dropped down silently behind him. Throck heard something and started to turn. Too late. Quan had found a plasma cutter in the salvage. He activated it and drove it into the gap in Throck's armor, where the neck met the helmet. The Vrexian fell without a sound. Quan took his weapon and ammunition. He was no longer just using the ship. Now he was armed. 3 left: Commander Threx, Silex, and one other soldier named Rax. Quan watched them on the cameras. They had found a defensible position in the bridge. They set up a barricade. They had weapons pointing at all the entrances. They were not going to make it easy. That was fine. Quan was patient. He had waited 20 years. He could wait longer. He settled into a hidden spot and watched them. The Vrexians were tough. They were trained. But they were starting to break mentally. They jumped at every sound. They argued with each other. Fear was eating them alive. Quan remembered something his father had once told him. "The strongest weapon is not the biggest gun," Day had said. "It is hope. When you take away someone's hope, they have already lost." The Vrexians were losing hope. They realized they were trapped on a dead ship with someone who knew every corner, every system, every secret. Someone who had spent 20 years preparing for this exact moment. Quan spoke one more time over the intercom. "You wanted to erase humanity," he said. "You wanted us forgotten. But I remember, and I will make sure the galaxy remembers too. They will find this ship. They will find your bodies. And they will know that humans do not die quietly." In the bridge, the 3 Vrexians looked at each other. For the first time in their lives, they understood what it felt like to be hunted, to be prey, to be helpless, and Quan smiled in the darkness. The 3 Vrexians stayed in the bridge for 6 hours. They did not sleep. They barely spoke. They just watched the doors and waited. Commander Threx had sent a distress signal before Quan cut their communications. Help was coming. They just needed to survive until it arrived. Quan knew about the signal. He had let them send it, because more Vrexians meant more chances for revenge. He did not attack the bridge directly. Instead, he worked on their minds. Every hour, he played a sound over the speakers. Sometimes it was footsteps. Sometimes it was his sister Hana's voice from old recordings calling for help. Sometimes it was the screams from Earth's final transmission. "Make it stop," Rax said. He was the youngest of the 3. His hands shook. "Please make it stop." "Ignore it," Threx said. He is trying to break us. Stay focused. But Quan could see it working. Silix kept looking at the shadows. Rax jumped every time a pipe creaked. Even Threx was sweating inside his armor. Then the rescue ship arrived, a Vrexian patrol vessel with 12 more soldiers. Quan watched it dock with the eternal hope. Fresh prey. The patrol ship captain was named Gorvin. He was experienced and smart. He brought his soldiers aboard in full combat armor. They moved in tight formation, weapons ready. "Commander Threx," Gorvin called over the radio, "we received your distress signal. What is your situation?" "One human survivor," Threx replied. "He has killed 4 of my crew and trapped us in the bridge. Proceed with extreme caution." Gorvin laughed. "One human? You need 12 soldiers to handle one human?" "You do not understand," Threx said. "He knows this ship. He has turned it into a weapon. He is—" The communication cut out. Quan had jammed it. He wanted the new arrivals to be confident. Confident enemies made mistakes. The patrol soldiers spread out through the ship. They were professional, moving in teams of 3. They checked every corner with military precision. Quan had prepared for this. He had set up explosives in key locations made from fuel cells and chemical containers. He had rigged doors to seal. He had programmed the ship's systems to respond to his commands. The first team of soldiers entered the engine room. Quan sealed the doors behind them and opened a coolant pipe. Super-cold liquid poured into the room. The Vrexians tried to escape, but the doors would not open. The cold killed them in minutes. The second team heard their screams and ran to help. Quan triggered an explosion in the corridor. The blast threw them against the walls. 2 died instantly. The third was badly wounded. Gorvin realized too late that he had made a mistake. "All teams, fall back to the shuttle," he ordered. But Quan had already damaged their shuttle's engines. He had done it while they were boarding the Eternal Hope. A small cut in the fuel line, the kind of thing that would not show up on quick scans, but would leak slowly. "Captain, the shuttle will not start," the pilot reported. "We have a fuel leak." "Repair it," Gorvin said. "Now." The remaining soldiers tried to secure a perimeter while the pilot worked on the shuttle. There were 7 of them left, plus Gorvin. Along with Threx's 3 soldiers in the bridge, that made 11 Vrexians total. Quan moved through the ventilation system. He could reach any part of the ship without being seen. He dropped down behind a lone soldier who was guarding a corridor. Before the Vrexian could react, Quan shot him with the plasma weapon he had taken. 1 shot, clean and quiet. 10 left. 2 more soldiers went to check on their fallen comrade. Quan had rigged the area with a trap. When they stepped on a certain floor panel, the section of floor gave way. They fell 3 levels down into a sealed compartment. Quan vented the air from that compartment. They suffocated. 8 left. Gorvin was screaming orders now. "Everyone to the docking bay! Defensive positions! Shoot anything that moves!" The soldiers gathered near the docking bay. They formed a circle, weapons pointing outward. They were scared but disciplined. These were not like Threx's salvage crew. These were real warriors. Quan did not attack them directly. Instead, he showed them something. On every screen in the ship, he played a video. It was footage from the security cameras, footage of what he had done to their comrades. Every death, every trap. Every moment of their suffering. "Watch what happens when you underestimate humans," Quan's voice said over the speakers. "You think we are weak because we value life. You think we are soft because we choose peace. But you forgot something important." The video showed the destruction of Earth, the cities burning, the people dying. "When you take everything from someone," Quan continued, "when you destroy everything they love, you create something dangerous. You create someone with nothing left to lose. Someone who knows that death is coming anyway. Someone who just wants to take as many of you with him as possible." One of the soldiers broke. He screamed and started firing randomly at the shadows. Gorvin had to tackle him to make him stop. "He is in your head," Gorvin shouted. Do not let him win. But it was too late. The fear had taken root. Every sound made them spin around. Every shadow looked like a threat. They were falling apart. Quan struck again. He cut the power to the docking bay. In the darkness, he threw a smoke grenade. The Vrexians fired blindly, hitting each other in the confusion. 2 more fell. 6 left. When the smoke cleared, Quan was standing at the far end of the bay. The Vrexians saw him for the first time. He was smaller than them, thinner, covered in scars. He looked half dead, but his eyes burned with purpose. "There he is!" a soldier shouted. They all opened fire. But Quan was already gone, diving into a maintenance shaft. The bullets hit nothing but wall. "After him," Gorvin ordered. 3 soldiers went into the shaft. It was a mistake. The shaft was narrow. They had to go single file. Quan was waiting with the plasma cutter. In the confined space, they could not maneuver or escape. He killed all 3. 3 left, not counting Threx's group in the bridge. Gorvin and his last 2 soldiers backed toward the shuttle. The pilot had finally repaired it. "We are leaving," Gorvin said. "This mission is over." But Quan had one more surprise. He had rigged the shuttle with the last of his explosives. As soon as they powered up the engines, the ship exploded. The blast destroyed the docking bay and killed the pilot and 1 soldier. Gorvin and his last soldier survived, but they were wounded and trapped. Their armor was cracked. They were breathing the ship's stale air now. "This is not possible," Gorvin said, staring at the destruction. "One human cannot do this." Quan's voice answered from everywhere and nowhere. "I am not just one human. I am every human you killed. I am the memory of Earth. I am the ghost you created, and I will haunt you until you understand what you have done." The last soldier ran. He could not take it anymore. He ran blindly through the corridors, screaming. Quan let him run. Then he sealed a door ahead of the soldier. The Vrexian crashed into it and fell. Before he could get up, Quan was there. "Please," the soldier begged. "I surrender. I will tell you anything. Just let me live." "Did you let Earth live?" Quan asked. He did not wait for an answer. Now only Commander Threx, Silex, Rax, and Captain Gorvin remained. Captain Gorvin made it to the bridge. He was wounded, limping, his armor cracked and sparking. He collapsed against the barricade where Threx and his team waited. 12 soldiers, Gorvin gasped. "He killed 12 trained soldiers. How?" "I told you," Threx said quietly. "He knows this ship, and he has nothing to lose." Silex helped Gorvin sit down. She gave him water from her emergency pack. Her hands were shaking. "What do we do now?" she asked. "Both our ships are destroyed. We cannot leave. We cannot fight him." "We wait," Threx said. "Eventually someone will come looking for us. Until then we hold this position." Rax laughed. It was a broken sound. "Hold this position. He has been playing with us. If he wanted us dead right now, we would be dead." "Then why are we still alive?" Gorvin asked. The answer came through the bridge speakers. Quan's voice, calm and cold. "Because I want you to understand," he said. "I want you to feel what my people felt, the fear, the hopelessness. The knowledge that death is coming and there is nothing you can do to stop it." Threx stood up, anger overriding his fear. "You want revenge? Fine. Come in here and face us like a warrior. Stop hiding in the shadows like a coward." There was silence. Then Quan spoke again, softer this time. "My sister Hannah was 6 years old when you killed her. She liked to draw pictures of flowers. She wanted to be an artist someday. Did she get to face her killers like a warrior? Did she get a fair fight?" The words hit them like a physical blow. Silex closed her eyes. "My mother Yuna was a doctor," Quan continued. "She spent her life saving people. She died trying to protect children in the medical bay. Did she get to defend herself?" "We were following orders," Threx said, but his voice was weak now. "My father Day was an engineer. He fixed things. He built things. He believed in peace. His last act was to hide me and tell me to survive. He died so I could live. And I have lived for 20 years in this tomb, surrounded by the bodies of everyone I ever loved. All because you decided my species did not deserve to exist. Quan appeared on the bridge monitors. They could see him now. He was sitting in the ship's observation deck, looking out at the stars. He looked tired, human, mortal, but his eyes were hard as stone. "You are right about one thing," Quan said. "I could kill you now, but that would be too quick, too easy. You need to understand what you have done. You need to carry that knowledge." "What do you want?" Silex asked. She was crying inside her helmet. "I want you to send a message," Quan said. "Your communication systems are damaged, but the patrol ship's long-range transmitter still works. I repaired it. You are going to broadcast to the entire Vrexian fleet." "What message?" Gorvin asked. "The truth. You are going to tell them what happened here. That one human killed 19 of your soldiers. That the species you thought you erased is not gone. That we are still here. That we remember. And that we will never forgive." "They will never believe it," Threx said. "They will believe the video evidence," Quan replied. "I have recorded everything, every death, every scream, every moment of your failure. The galaxy will see what happens when you underestimate humans." He paused, and his voice grew quieter. "After you send the message, I will give you a choice. You can try to kill me, or you can live with what you have done." "And if we refuse to send the message?" Gorvin asked. "Then you die slowly," Quan said simply. "I will vent the air from the bridge one breath at a time. It will take hours. You will feel every second." The 4 Vrexians looked at each other. They had no choice. They were beaten. Threx walked to the communication panel. With Quan's guidance, he accessed the long-range transmitter. He recorded a message describing what had happened. His voice was hollow, defeated. Then he attached all the video files that Quan had prepared. "Send it to the 3rd Fleet Command," Quan instructed, "and to Vrexian High Command, and to the public networks. I want everyone to see." Threx hesitated. If he sent this, it would destroy his career. It would bring shame to his entire unit. The Vrexian military would be humiliated. "Do it," Silex said quietly. "We deserve this." Threx pressed the button. The message transmitted across space at light speed. Within hours, it would reach hundreds of Vrexian worlds. "It is done," Threx said. "Good," Quan replied. "Now we wait." They waited in silence for an hour. Then reports started coming in on the Vrexian military network. Quan let them listen. Commanders were furious. Politicians demanded explanations. But beneath the anger, there was something else. Uncertainty. Fear. If one human could do this, what else were they wrong about? Then another report came through. A Vrexian outpost on the frontier had been attacked. 2 guards killed. No evidence except a message left on the wall. Humanity endures. Another report. A supply convoy ambushed. 3 ships destroyed. Survivors reported seeing a human fighter. More reports flooded in. Vrexian installations across the galaxy were being hit. Small attacks, precise, deadly, and they all carried the same message: humans were not extinct. "It is starting," Quan said. "Other survivors are coming out of hiding. My message gave them hope. Now, they are fighting back." "You are starting a war you cannot win," Gorvin said. "The Vrexian Empire is too strong." "Maybe," Quan agreed, "but we will make you bleed for every victory. We will make you pay for what you did, and we will make sure the galaxy never forgets the genocide you committed." He stood up on the monitor. "I am opening the bridge doors now. You are free to go. Try to find a way off this ship. Try to survive, or try to kill me. Your choice." The barricade doors unlocked with a click. The 4 Vrexians looked at each other. "This is a trap," Rax said. "Of course it is," Threx replied. "Everything is a trap now." but they had to try. They could not stay in the bridge forever. Slowly, weapons ready, they moved out into the corridor. Quan was waiting in the observation deck. He had a rifle now, taken from the dead soldiers. He was ready for them to come. Part of him wanted them to come, wanted to finish it, but another part of him knew the truth. Killing these four would not bring back Earth. It would not resurrect his family. It would not undo 20 years of pain. Revenge was not about ending his suffering. It was about making sure the Vrexians suffered too. Hours passed. The Vrexians searched the ship, trying to find a way to escape or a way to kill Quan. But every path led to another trap. Every hope led to disappointment. They were stuck on the eternal hope, just like Quan had been stuck for 20 years. Finally, exhausted and broken, they returned to the bridge. They knew the truth now. They were not getting off this ship. Not alive. Quan watched them on the monitors. He saw Silex crying. He saw Rax staring at nothing. He saw Gorvin and Threx sitting in silence, knowing they had failed. He could kill them now. It would be easy. Instead, he spoke one last time. "Welcome to my world," Quan said. "Welcome to being the last survivors of a dead species. Welcome to living with ghosts. Now you understand what you created when you killed humanity. You created me, and there are more like me out there. We are the ghosts of Earth, and we will haunt you forever." He turned off the monitors and walked away, leaving the Vrexians alone with their fear. In the darkness of space, the eternal hope drifted on. Inside were 5 survivors. 4 Vrexians who would spend their remaining days trapped with the terror they had created, and 1 human who had become something the galaxy thought impossible, a ghost, a hunter, a legend. The last human was underestimated, and now the galaxy would never make that mistake again.